Namaskar. Welcome to Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community on ITV Gold. I'm Ashok Vyas. Today, this Sunday, as we meet 1 weekend before Thanksgiving, practically the week that starts from tomorrow, on Thursday, we will be observing Thanksgiving Day. Connecting Thanksgiving with expression of gratefulness. Many of us are grateful. Finally, 2020 is reaching towards saying goodbye to us. So much has happened in 2020. This year, we will remember for COVID 19 and many things, some of them unpleasant. But moving forward, in today's Vision of Asia, we will continue to have rows of light related to festival of Deepavali. What we have for you today lined up, we open up with Deepavali Annakut festival report from Vatadal Dham, New Jersey. Special conversation with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh in this week. We will have NYS, that is New York State Assemblyman from 36th Street, the first from South Asian descent, that is Joran Mamdani, talking to us. And then we take you to Times Square, the landmark space for AIA Diwali festival, and we conclude this Vision of Asia with another Diwali report coming to us from Gayatri Center, New Jersey. So all this coming up right after these short messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community on ITV Gold. Deepavali is a very important festival. It is also known as King of Festival because there are many references, be it related to manifestation of Lakshmi Maiya or arrival of Lord Rama to Ayodhya or Bhai Dooj, and all these 5 special days add a lot of positive energy and opens up abundance of inspiration. We take you to Annakut festival as it was observed at Vatadal Dham in New Jersey. Annakut festival takes its roots from the reference when Lord Krishna inspired everyone to stop praying and worshipping Indra, instead worship Govardhan. And that followed with expression of anger by Lord Indra and how Lord Krishna saved. All that is remembered on the festival of Annakut. Here is a report from Vatadal Dham on Annakut celebration.
સર્વાવતારી ઈષ્ટદેવ ભગવાન શ્રી સ્વામિનારાયણ અમેરિકા તેમજ કેનેડા દેશમાં વસતા તમામ વડતાલવાસી શ્રી લક્ષ્મીનારાયણ દેવગાદી સંસ્થાનના શ્રી હરિના લાડીલા પ્રેમી વાલા ભક્તજનોને દીપોત્સવી પર્વ તેમજ નૂતન વર્ષની અનેક શુભકામનાઓ સહ અમારા અંતરના ભાવથી જય સ્વામિનારાયણ. વાલા ભક્તજનો, વિક્રમ સંવત 2077નો પ્રારંભ થવા જઈ રહ્યો હોય. દીપોત્સવીનો પર્વ ઉમંગ અને ઉત્સાહ અને ઉલ્લાસપૂર્વક આપ સૌ જ્યારે ઉજવી રહ્યા હો ત્યારે બહુ હૃદયથી વડતાલ ધામમાં બિરાજતા શ્રી હરિકૃષ્ણ મહારાજના ચરણકમળમાં અમો એવી પ્રાર્થના કરીએ છીએ કે આપ દૂર દેશમાં રહ્યા થકા પણ જે પ્રમાણે નિષ્ઠાપૂર્વક ભગવાન શ્રી હરિના વચનોને વિશે નિસંશય થકા આપ સૌ સત્સંગ કરી રહ્યા છો ત્યારે સર્વ પ્રકારે આપ સૌની ઉપર મહારાજની કૃપા ઉતરતી રહે એવી એમના ચરણોમાં પ્રાર્થના છે. વહાલા ભક્તજનો, દીપોત્સવીનો પર્વ કહેતા પ્રકાશનો પર્વ છે. જેમ માટીના કોડિયામાં દીવડો પ્રગટાવીને દીવડો જેમ અંધકારને દૂર કરે છે તેમ આપણા જીવનમાં પણ જે કંઈ પણ અંધકાર હોય તે અંધકાર દૂર થાય એ દૂર કરવા માટેના પ્રયત્નોનો આ પર્વ છે.
My name is Hemaksi Ben. અમે અહીંયા મંદિરમાં દર્શન કરવાયા છે સમરસેટ વડતાલ ધામમાં. તો બહુ જ મજા આવી. અંકોટના દર્શન કર્યા, હરિકૃષ્ણ મહારાજના દર્શન કર્યા, રણછોડરાય લક્ષ્મીનારાયણ દેવના દર્શન કર્યા. બહુ જ મજા આવી.
અને આઈટીવી એશિયાવાર બધા જય સ્વામિનારાયણ. અહીંયા આગળ આજે અમારે નવા વર્ષનો દિવાળીનો અંકોટ ઉત્સવ હતો અને બધા હરિભગતો ઘરેથી ખૂબ સારા અને સરસ ભગવાન માટે નાસ્તા બનાવી લાયા અને બધાએ ધૂન ભજન કીર્તન બહુ જ સરસ કર્યું. ઇન્ડિયા યાદ આવી જાય એવું. અને સંતોએ બધાએ સરસ કથા વાર્તા કરી. ઇન્ડિયાથી મહારાષ્ટ્રીએ બધાને દરેકને અમેરિકામાં રહેતા દરેક હરિભક્તોને બધાને પ્રેમથી આશીર્વાદ આપ્યા છે. હેપી ન્યૂ યર્સ કહ્યા છે. હેપી દિવાળી. જય સ્વામિનારાયણ.
જય સ્વામિનારાયણ. આઈટીવી ગોલ્ડના દર્શકોને સર્વને નવા વર્ષના ભાવથી જય સ્વામિનારાયણ. આજે નવા વર્ષ નિમિત્તે અહીંયા દિવાળી પર્વ નિમિત્તે દીપોત્સવ નિમિત્તે 3 દિવસનો તહેવાર હતો. કાળી ચૌદશનો ઉત્સવ થયો, હનુમાનજીનું પૂજન થયું, પછી લક્ષ્મી પૂજન થયું, ચોપડા પૂજન થયું, સરસ્વતી શારદા પૂજન થયું અને આજે અન્નકૂટનો ઉત્સવ હતો. 56 ભોગનો દિવ્ય મહોત્સવ અહીંયા હતો. ઘણા બધા ભક્તોએ લાભ લીધો. સવારથી 6:30 વાગ્યાથી ઉત્સવ શરૂ થયો. પ્રથમ મંગળા આરતી થઈ 6:30, પછી 8 o'clock શણગાર આરતી થઈ, 10:30 અન્નકૂટની પ્રથમ આરતી થઈ, 11:30 અન્નકૂટની ત્રીજી આરતી થઈ અને 12:30 અન્નકૂટની ત્રીજી આરતી થઈ. એવી રીતે 3 આરતીના દર્શન વારાફરતી થયા અને ઘણા બધા ભક્તોએ આ ન્યૂજર્સીના, પેન્સિલ્વેનિયાના, ન્યુયોર્કના, કનેક્ટિકટ સુધીના બધા આજુબાજુના ભક્તોએ લાભ લીધો છે કોરોનાના નિયમ પ્રમાણે.
બધા ભાઈ બહેનોને મારા જય સ્વામિનારાયણ નવા વર્ષના, અને સૌને હેલ્ધી રાખે ભગવાન. બસ એ જ મારી પ્રાર્થના છે.
We dive deep into some of the hot button issues every week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parekh, and here is the analytical look with him this week. Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and these days are very special days. A lot of things are happening, and we will be talking about several themes which are attracting our attention with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parekh in this weekly special show, This Week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parekh. Doctor, welcome. Namaste.
Namaskar, namaskar.
So let us begin with recollecting how was your Deepavali this year?
Well, Deepavali was always, it's a great festival. I'm always looking forward to Deepavali and our Gujarati New Year since I know or I understand since childhood. Let's put it that way. And this year also it was very good. And I always believe that Deepavali is a very auspicious day. And always you try to decide for next year what better thing you can do for the community, friends, and relatives.
Absolutely. So there is a sense of newness with New Year, new enthusiasm. And this year's Deepavali has come at a time when we all are facing multiple, call them challenges. And we are also hearing the third wave of COVID-19. Keeping that in mind, this Deepavali, what was your special focus and prayer?
Well, my prayer is that we believe that traditionally Deepavali is what is Deepavali? Deepavali we are celebrating. We celebrate the victory of good over evil. So it means it's all the bad thing or all the wrong thing should eventually die down. And that's I'm hoping for and I'm praying for, that after Diwali, all this coronavirus thing and suffering slowly should subside. Of course, everyone has to keep the mask on, keep the distance from the other people, not to get together, not even in the small group. And we are hoping that vaccines are coming, probably, hopefully, end of this month, and that will help everyone and to help resolve this problem.
Absolutely. Talking about resolving the problem, recently President Trump announced about a new discovery, some vaccine which is likely to hit the market soon. But there were some apprehensions about New York governor not having accepted. Can you tell us more about what is going on, where we are in terms of getting near the vaccine?
Well, the two pharmaceutical company, one is a Pfizer and second one is a Moderna, and both has completed their third phase trial, and their data has been submitted to FDA, one last week and one this week, and hopefully within next 2 weeks, FDA will go over, review it, and approve it. And usually, the controversy between governor and president, I think governor is kind of out of line that way, because this kind of vaccine, FDA, there is no politics there. It's all purely scientific, science-based. So I don't think that is the right thing, because one of the vaccine, our practice, our group practice, is a part of it in the trial. So we know that this is nothing to do with the Republican Democrat. I think governor is kind of little out of it's off-cuff remark, which does not serve the people.
So probably he'll change his stand. Normally he has proven to be a logical person, but many people are not understanding the logic with which President Trump is not willing to concede. What might be the thought process behind it? What do you think?
Well, that's a different story. It has nothing to do with a vaccine, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a whole different subject. And I think American Constitution says that according to the Constitution, when the election is very close, or anyone, challenger or the winner or loser, has a right to go through the legal challenges, because the election is so close. The number of winning and losing were in the few thousands. So I think all loser has right to challenge that, go through the whatever legal process allowed by Constitution, and then whoever wins, I'm sure if Vice President Biden wins, I'm sure Trump should congratulate him and keep moving and let the new administration take over. But again, we cannot rush into that, because that's how our Constitution is. That Constitution tells us that there are some certain dates are there, December 7th, which is all the state has to certify, and December 14th, Congress has to meet, convene, and elect president. So in the past, about a few years ago, President Hayes was lost the election, but Congress has made him president, and the winner did not get the presidency. So that can happen, because it's all constitutional thing. So I think what president is doing right now, there's no need to concede without exhausting his right to challenge the kind of result of the counting. That's all it is. There's nothing more to it. But I think Democratic Party is kind of little in a hurry to finish it up, and that doesn't work probably in the democracy.
The way you have objectively taken a look at it makes people realize that it is not very out of track, or the way not just Democratic Party, but most of the American media, barring a few channels, is portraying President Trump as if he is sort of a villain in terms of not conceding and not accepting, and they continue to paint him in a bad light. But the way you said it, it feels like we are moving with the rhythm, which is a part of the constitutional provision. So moving towards the other side, the previous president just released one memoir, President Barack Obama, in which he shared his observation about Rahul Gandhi. You must have heard about it, and that has caused a lot of talks in India, because Barack Obama shares his impression that sort of defining Rahul Gandhi as little immature and not having enough will to learn, but acts as an eager student, something like that. You heard about it?
Well, I'm not aware of that particular specific comment, but can you tell me in what reference he was saying?
Oh, he was in his book has shared his impressions about multiple leaders across the world, and in India, when he writes, he talks about
I
Rahul
see.
Gandhi.
I mean, of course, I understand. So, of course, President Obama's opinion has quite a bit credence and quite a bit respect to it, and therefore, I think that is his personal observation and personal opinion, and I would stop there, because again, everyone has different personal opinion about different people.
Coming back to the rise of COVID and the way India is handling it, moving forward, what would you like to see in terms of the precautionary steps on the part of Government of India?
Well, I think Government of India should not be hurry in opening up all these religious places and other kind of restaurant and all those things, because in India the situation is as grim as USA. Almost 10 million people suffering from COVID, and a lot of deaths are happening too. So I think we have to, just like USA, they should kind of restrict all this gathering in the vast majority of gathering, because it doesn't matter what you say, what you put the guideline to in the sports arena, or in the movie theater, or in the restaurant, or in the religious places. People cannot maintain that COVID guideline, and that leads to the more infection. And I think that it should not be allowed, or it should be allowed in very restricted way.
Absolutely. And as we wish Happy Deepavali in the beginning also, Saal Mubarak too. But another serious area which requires our attention, whether it is India or America, we are witnessing increase in the number of people who are not able to appreciate life, and they decide to quit this journey of life in an abrupt fashion. So indeed, mental health deserves special extra attention. What can you think from media, as well as with all your philanthropic activities, some additional ideas which collectively we should work on?
Well, I mean, we should work on make sure that all the opening should be very slow and very systemic, because of the threat of the coronavirus is real, is not gone away. So till vaccine comes or till more therapeutic comes, I think we have to go slowly. And again, it has another flip side, that because of this, people are also getting fatigue of the coronavirus, right? So that's why they are behaving the way they are behaving. Once you let them go out, they will act kind of little irresponsible way. That's a human nature. And third thing, I think things has to be opened up, because otherwise a lot of people will die at home with the different diseases other than coronavirus. So I think it's a very sensitive decision, and one has to balance properly, and one has to help those who are poor, who needs the food or who needs the shelter. Government should provide them.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Shah. I think we covered quite a bit of range. And as we conclude, your concluding remarks from this edition.
Dear friends, I would like to wish you Happy Diwali, and to my Gujarati friends, Happy New Year. And please remember, this is very auspicious days in our life, Diwali days. And during these days, we must remember to help each other, respect each other, love each other, and particularly love and help less privileged people, those who are little less privileged than us, more than otherwise. So please help your friends and family and the community. This is my message for Deepavali. Thank you. Happy Diwali again, and wish you God bless America, God bless India, Jai Hind, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
It is a proud to be celebrating victory of Zohran Mamdani as New York State Assemblyman from 36th Street. He talked to Aditi Lamba for us. Here are some excerpts from that conversation.
How has it felt since election day, knowing that you're one of the first South Asian Americans in the New York State Assembly to be elected?
I mean, it's very, very exciting to be among the first South Asians, not only elected to the New York State Assembly, but also elected to any office here across New York City.
Oh, wow.
You know, we have a South Asian population that comes close to 400,000 people in this city. We are an integral part of the civic and cultural fabric of the city. We make this city what it is, and yet for too long, we have been not only ignored, but also erased from the political fabric of the city. And so while I am very excited, I am also a little bit frustrated with the fact that it's 2020 and here I am still being the first. And I think that that is also a legacy of the status quo and political parties that have had power in this city refusing to bring South Asian communities to the table.
You know, how was your entire election process? How was the primaries? Because I believe you went against an incumbent and you won against the person. And I believe that your team worked on very grassroots level. So could you tell us a little insight into how that entire process was for you?
Absolutely. It was a very difficult and challenging campaign. I've worked on local campaigns before. And, you know, I thought I knew what to expect, but then we had an unprecedented global pandemic. So, for example, most of the campaigns that I've worked on and campaigns that many of my friends have worked on, they're built around door-to-door canvassing, where you knock on the doors of neighbors across the district and you talk to them about the campaign. And yet, because of COVID, we had to suspend door-to-door canvassing in the middle of March. We had put down $12,000 to have a lease at an office, 2,000 square feet on Steinway Street, and we had to close it after 3 weeks because, again, we could not in good conscience invite people to work within that office space. And so it forced us to be a lot more creative in the ways that we would talk to voters. We did a lot of phone banking. We wrote handwritten postcards. We chalked. We put posters up. I had a friend drive me around the district in his car, and I used a megaphone to talk to people on the street. We used everything and anything that was within our reach to connect to people across Astoria. And I'm really proud of what we did, and I'm proud of the fact that we practiced what we preach in the sense of we lived our values through the ways that we spoke to people. When we talk about this campaign, a lot of it is grounded in socialist ethos and ideas. And one of the main ideas is solidarity, that we must care for each other as if they are our own. And in our campaign, we responded to COVID by raising $65,000 separate from the campaign funds and distributing over 14,000 meals across Astoria and Long Island City.
Wow, let's talk a little bit about the district because it is super diverse. It has a lot of communities in it, and it's basically like sort of the heart of Queens as we talk about it. What are some of the important issues that were pertinent to residents of your district, and what has been the ramifications of COVID-19, especially on the district that you will be representing?
Yeah, I think that the issues that were most pertinent to people in this district, first and foremost, is housing. You know,
Right.
Astoria is a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood, one of the fastest gentrifying ones in all of New York City. And this is actually now going on for decades, where we've had people priced out of Astoria. You can actually go to the New York Times and search an article. You'll find about the Bangladeshi community being priced out of Astoria and moving to Detroit instead. So this is not something that's new, but the scale at which people are being priced out now is unprecedented. And what we need to do is, in the short term, we have to cancel rent and cancel mortgages to ensure that people are not being priced out of their homes during a public health crisis. And what we have to do in the medium term is pass something called universal rent control, which would be passed through a piece of legislation called good cause eviction, which would provide all tenants, whether in market rate or rent controlled apartments, protections that they deserve. And in the long term, we have to make sure that housing is truly a human right and that the market does not decide who gets to stay within a place that they can call their own and who has to live on the street.
Yeah, surely, housing is such a huge problem in the whole country. You know, your website says housing, justice, energy for all. I would love for you to reflect on the justice and energy part, especially the justice. Are you referring to the racial tension that's happening in the nation that we've seen across states this year, especially?
Absolutely. I'm referring to what's been happening this year and what's been happening for many years prior.
Right.
Because frankly, our criminal justice system is not correctly named. It is not a system that provides justice. It's a system that denies it. And what we are seeking to do with this campaign, and what many other candidates were elected on a platform of, was to finally bring justice back to everyone, not just the select few. So what that means is, pushing to end cash bail. This country is supposedly founded on a principle that, you are innocent until proven guilty. And yet for so many people, when they are accused of a crime, not yet convicted, but just accused, they are then charged bail. And if they cannot pay it, they are sent to jail. And so what that creates is a system where the wealthy are able to be accused of a crime and they can go home and pay whatever the amount is. For example, Harvey Weinstein. But then the poor, if accused, are sent straight to jail. And we have people who spend months in jail. And I think that that's fundamentally unjust. And I think that we know across this country that the criminal justice system is racist. And yet we continue to put more and more, validity and power into that same system. And I think we need to take it out of it, because I think we desperately need to create a safe New York City. And I'm quite confident in the fact that safety does not come from additional incarceration or policing. It comes from ensuring that our social services are fully funded and that we're actually looking at why crime occurs as opposed to the fact that it is. In terms of energy, that is an issue that is very close to us here in Astoria. Of all of the energy produced in New York City, Astoria produces half of it. And we have generating stations in the north of the district and also south of the district. We're talking about the Con Ed plants in the north. We're talking about Ravenswood plant, which is just outside of the district. And as a result of having these plants in our district, our air quality is worse than many other parts of Queens. And the consequences of that, you can see it in our families where so many people have asthma. And so when we're talking about energy for all, we're talking about bringing a Green New Deal back to Astoria and making Albany accountable to that. So right now in Astoria, there's an NRG plant. NRG is one of the largest fossil fuel companies in the United States. They are proposing to spend over $1 billion to create a fracked natural gas power plant in the north of Astoria. And what we are saying is that is absolutely not going to be something we accept. And we are in fact going to fight it every single day.
Definitely. Could you give us a little bit more insight into the new Green Deal? What are the major aspects of it? And, especially if you're coming from a socialist point of view, what are you agreeing with and what are you disagreeing with?
I agree with the Green New Deal entirely. And what I mean by the Green New Deal is a set of legislation that understands the stakes that we are in right now. This is not a normal time. We have a very limited time frame in which we can take action to correct the course of climate change.
Right.
And at this point, it is frankly something that is going to be more of mitigation than resolving, because we've let it come to this point for so long. So what I mean by that is, I believe, and many others do as well, that we must have a moratorium on all fossil fuel infrastructure. That we are at a point where we need to rapidly build publicly controlled renewable energy production, not at a point where we should allow private companies to build fossil fuel extraction plants or technologies across New York City and New York State. Because when we spend, for example, with the proposal that's here, if we were to allow them to spend $1.5 billion on a new fracked gas power plant, we would have to understand that this will lock us into this production for decades. Companies do not spend that kind of money and then walk away from it. And we know that our future and our ability to actually stay and live on this earth in a sustaining way is built around curbing the fossil fuel emissions, not adding more to it.
Yes, definitely. Is this something that's on your first 100 days agenda?
I think it's difficult because I'm going to be a legislator, and so I don't have executive power. For
Right.
example, it's Governor Cuomo who decides whether or not this plant will be approved. As a legislator, what I can do is put on my first 100 days the kinds of legislation that I will sign on to and support, and this will definitely be part and parcel of it. I technically only take the office in January, but I've already been working on these kinds of issues, have been parts of marches, have been parts of, articles that we're writing, letters that we're circulating, and frankly, we are going to be escalating this fight even before January, because what we are facing right now is a crisis that we cannot afford to wait for.
Yeah, for sure. And just to think about our future generations and the kind of environment they need to sustain. It's so important. I want to just backtrack a little bit on the racial justice side. I would love to know how you, throughout your campaign and now as an incoming state assemblyman, are looking at the Black Lives Movement. Because let's be honest, this is going to continue. Right, and I'm sure the new administration coming in would also be held accountable, just like the White House administration is right now held accountable for it. How have you looked at this movement, and what are you going to do about racial justice on day one?
I am extremely excited and extremely inspired by this movement. I think Black Lives Matter is a movement that is one which is bringing the limelight to the truth of this country that has been the truth for far too long. And, while I am happy to see the end of Donald Trump in the White House, we have to acknowledge the fact that Black Lives Matter as a movement began during the Obama administration. Just because Joe Biden is going to be in the White House does not mean that these issues will magically be resolved. In fact, what it shows is that the issue of racism is so deep-seated in our society, no one political party has a monopoly over it. It is in fact ingrained in the building blocks of this country. And in order to truly resolve it, we have to take radical action and have a true and honest look at what this country is and what it's been built on. And so for me, what I think that racial justice looks like and following the lead of Black Lives Matter looks like as a legislator is pushing for policy initiatives, whether it's taking money away from policing and putting it back into social services, whether it's ensuring that we do not have cash bail, whether it's ensuring that people whose lives have been ensnared by the criminal justice system, whether we can giving them their dignity back. So for example, many people agree that the criminal justice system is racist, and yet those same people are okay with the fact that incarcerated New Yorkers are unable to vote. So if we think that the system is unjust, then why are we giving it more power to determine people's freedoms? Additional to that, I think we have to make it very clear that when we talk about the worth of Black life, we do not simply discuss it within the context of criminal justice and crime and policing. We must discuss it within the entire context of being Black in this country. And so when we say Black Lives Matter, we must fight for it by fighting for single-payer healthcare, by fighting for a universal rent control, by fighting for all these kinds of government policies that give dignity back to New Yorkers, because we cannot pick and choose where we think that it's okay to be Black. If you believe that Black lives matter in front of police and within police stops, then you must fight for the same worth of that Black life throughout the entirety of society.
You're watching Vision of Asia, Voice of Community on ITV Gold, and this program comes to you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursdays at 8 p.m. and every weekend on Sunday at 11 a.m. we have this special weekly edition of Vision of Asia. We appreciate your continued support and love. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these short messages. Things are different this year due to COVID, yet the spirit of festival continues to draw us together and inspire us to stay in tune to the eternal light. Landmark space of New York Times Square has become very favorite spot for many important celebrations this year. AIA also organized its Diwali celebration in a smaller way, not with the kind of festival which was organized every year, but this small celebration was also powerful enough to sustain the inspiration and the flow of positive energy with brightness. Here are some highlights.
Hi, my name is Harish Thakkar. I'm the president of AIA New York chapter. First, I want to wish you everyone very happy, healthy, and safe Diwali. Today, we are doing a diya lighting at the Times Square. Last 33 years, we are doing Diwali at South Seaport. Due to COVID-19, we couldn't get the permit, and for the safety issue, we didn't do it. And we hope to do next year a larger scale and bigger way. AIA is doing this Diwali for 33 years in New York area, where they're showing our traditional heritage and culture to adopted land and to all New Yorker and people from all over the US.
Happy Diwali from Times Square, New York City, the crossroads of the world. I'm New York State Senator John Liu. So proud to have this opportunity to wish everyone a very important holiday, the holiday of Diwali. Millions of Indians all around the world and many New Yorkers right here consider this one of the most important holidays. And 2020, it's been difficult, so we cannot have our usual massive gatherings. But I'm really happy to have this opportunity to join Harry Thakkar and the Association of Indians in America and many other leaders here, small but influential crowd, to wish everyone here in New York and all throughout the world, Happy Diwali.
Angela, I can't believe that I'm celebrating Diwali here in New York. I'm going to send you pictures of this celebration. I'm so happy for you and all of the people in India. I love you all. Happy Diwali! Happy Diwali!
On the eve of Diwali, from the Consulate General of India here in New York, I convey warmest wishes on this occasion of Diwali to all of you. May this festival bring joy and happiness in your family, in your lives, and please spread the happiness of Diwali and delight of Diwali to all around, to people around you. Happy Diwali to all of you once again.
Good evening, everyone. This is Shatrughan Sinha, Deputy Consul General of India in New York. I would like to wish the viewers of ITV Gold a very happy Diwali. We are here at Times Square celebrating Diwali with members of Association of Indian Americans. This is again a great opportunity to come together to celebrate the victory of knowledge over darkness and victory of good over evil. So I would again like to wish the viewers of ITV Gold a very happy Diwali. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Sunil Mehra, Vice President of National AIA. I want to congratulate all the Indian community on the auspicious occasion of Diwali. We are celebrating as part of Associations of Indians in America. It's the oldest association which has created a unity among all the Indians, and for last few decades we have been celebrating Diwali at South Street Seaport. Because of the COVID this year, we have the distinguished privilege of celebrating Diwali in Times Square with our Consul General, Mr. Jaiswal, and other community leaders. And on behalf of all of AIA and API, I want to wish the entire viewers of ITV and other channels a very happy Diwali. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, our very dear friend, not only friend, he is also our New York AIA a member, a very executive member of New York committee, Mr. Dr. Sudhir Bhai Parikh. He's always supporting our community, not only community, but I see he's supporting each and every event through the media and other support he gives us to encourage to do the event. And Sudhir Bhai is he's going to be here and be part of this festival. And really personally I'll thank him, because every time we call he's there for us, he's helping us, he's supporting event throughout the community. So thank you, Sudhir Bhai, for helping us, and wishing very happy Diwali to you.
Good evening to ITV viewers this evening, which is a very special evening. My name is Dr. Jagdish Gupta. I'm one of the Vice President of AIA. I have been connected with AIA for a long time, since our first Diwali celebration in 1982. And I'm very, very fortunate that this year we are celebrating it with the Diya ceremony in Times Square. I want to wish every viewer with the good wishes of love, laughter, joy, health, and prosperity on this Diwali day.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ajita Joshi. We are celebrating here Diwali with AIA, with his president, Mr. Harish Thakkar, Anita Thakkar, his wife, and my family, my husband, Mayur Joshi, and our friend, Nipa Parekh and Jitu Parekh. This is the first time we are doing here at Times Square. Diwali is the Hindus' biggest festival, and this is the festival of light. And as the symbol, we are doing here the light, the diyas, and the message is also good. We brought the light to the world and to everybody in their own lives, and we are praying for COVID to go away and our whole world to become a bright of this festival. Thank you and happy Diwali.
Hello everyone. We are with AIA organization here celebrating Diwali at Times Square. That's a very special event by Harish Thakkar, Mr. Harish Thakkar. We are having a great time here. Yes, it's a pandemic, Diwali this year, but yes, we have to learn the new ways of celebrating Diwali this year. But that's also part of the life too. But again, it's a special event that we have to celebrate as an Indian community, and we are having a great time here. So we're wishing you happy and healthy, happy Diwali and healthy New Year to everyone. Just stay home, stay safe, and have a great time. Thank you.
We just want to say happy Diwali to you, and we are so glad to be able to celebrate Diwali, even among the COVID, even though it's a symbolic. But we are glad to be here, and this organization AIA is doing a great job for us, and it's representing Indian culture, it's representing India, it's representing Hinduism. So we are very grateful.
Thank you. I'm great to be here. Thank you to Harish Bhai and AIA that they invite us, and we'll know them for a long time. And happy Diwali to all. And great to be after a long time in New York downtown. Miss very much Manhattan all the pandemic year. And happy Diwali to all. Stay safe all. Thank you.
Hi, this is Nitin Vyas, the Public Relations Director for the World Vegan Vision. First of all, I would like to wish everyone the happy Diwali. I would like to congratulate AIA, Mr. Harish Thakkar and the entire team for organizing this wonderful celebration at Times Square. We are here with our friends and family members. We would like to wish everyone. And I would like to request and urge everyone to please celebrate the Diwali vegan way. Instead of using the ghee, just use in the oil. Make everyone healthy and happy, and wishing you everyone the happy Diwali once again. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to let you know that Dr. Sudhir Parikh, who is one of my own colleague and in charge of the media, Parikh Media, has been a very good friend, and he has been so helpful to the community all over the time. I have been fortunate to be involved with American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, Nargidat Cancer Foundation, India Association of Long Island, and in all the organization, we always appreciate the help of Dr. Sudhir Parikh in promoting our culture, in encouraging us, in helping, and he is especially very kind to the AIA all these years.
Gayatri Center at New Jersey observes all Hindu festivals with a lot of enthusiasm, and the spirit of collective devotion is always inspiring. Today, we take you to Gayatri Center, New Jersey with our report on Diwali celebrations.
ज्योति सूर्य स्वाहा अग्निर्वचो ज्योतिर्वच स्वाहा ज्योतिर्वच सूर्यो वचो स्वाहा ज्योतिर्सूर्यः सूर्यो ज्योतिः कामधूनां ससादित्यानाममितस्य नाभि प्रणोवोचं चिक्षुषेजनाय मागामनागां नित्यं वतिष्ठ ॐ सुरभ्यो नमः आवाहयामि स्थापयामि ध्यायामि जलं गन्धाक्षतं पुष्पाणि धूपं दीपं नैवेद्यं च तरण शक्तिથી સ્નાન કરાવજો પૃથ્વીનો અમૃત છે પંચામૃતમ સ્નાનમ સમર્પયામિ યજ્ઞોપવિતમ સમર્પયામિ ગંધ કરવાનો છે ગંધ સુગંધિત જીવન રહેશે ભગવાન બધા કરો ને જેટલા બધા તમારે સુગંધિત બધા એશ્યોર કરવાનું છે હું સુગંધિત ફેલાવીશ શ્રેષ્ઠ વિચારો શ્રેષ્ઠ સંસ્કારોનો ફેલાવો કરીશ નામ સમર્પયામિ દક્ષિણા જે બધા આપવાની છે એક શ્રેષ્ઠ ગુણ લેવાનો છે એક દુર્ગુણ છોડવાનો દેટ ઇઝ દક્ષિણા ટુ ડિવાઇન પાવર
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान्।
जय गुरुदेव। मेरा नाम जसभाई पटेल है। आज का जो दीपोत्सवी का उत्सव मनाया जाता है गायत्री चेतना सेंटर में भव्य रूप से मनाया गया। ये अवसर रामा अवतार में राम भगवान ने 14 बरस वनवास के बाद अयोध्या में जब लौटे थे उस दिवस दीपावली का दिवस था। हजारों संख्या में दीपक जलाए गए थे। आज भी राम मंदिर अयोध्या में हर रोज 6 लाख दिए जलते हैं। इसे दूसरे अवतार कृष्ण अवतार में कृष्ण भगवान ने गोवर्धन पर्वत को इंद्र भगवान ने बारिश रोके के बाद बहुत बारिश इतनी बारिश गिराई तो भगवान ने गोवर्धन पर्वत अपने हाथ की टचली अंगुली पर धरा रखा। इसके नीचे सब गोवाल जो ब्रजभूमि के लोग थे उसको वहाँ खड़ा किया और उसका ये बारिश से बचाया। इंद्र भगवान ने उसी समय अपना अभिमान छोड़ दिया और ये अन्नकूट जो है वो किसान लोग उपज जो बनाते हैं वर्षा ऋतु के बाद वो अन्न जो निकालते हैं उसको कूटते हैं और इसमें से बनाई हुई रसोई सबसे पहले भगवान को धराते हैं। इसलिए उसको अन्नकूट किया गया और बाद में अंकोट शब्द में आ गया। आज हमारे मंदिर में इतनी सामग्री फ्रूट आदि के सबके घर से आई हुई। ये अंकोट का दर्शन 12:30 बजे गोवर्धन पूजा की गई। ये गोवर्धन में गाय का जो महत्व है ये हमारे देश में किसान लोग गाय पवित्र है कामधेनु है उसके शरीर में सभी देवताओं का वास है। इसलिए आज गोवर्धन पूजा के साथ गाय का भी पूजन किया जाता है। ये मंदिर में कई लोग आज दर्शन के लिए आए हैं। अन्नकूट का दर्शन आज जो हुआ है वो भव्य है बहुत देखने लायक है। आप लोगों पर इसका आज अनुभव हुआ। आपको ये नूतन वर्षाभिनंदन के लिए सब लोगों को तन मन धन से आपकी आयु बढ़ती रहे आरोग्य अच्छा रहे और कोरोना के समय में हम इसमें से जल्द मुक्त हो जाए ऐसा आशीर्वाद हम गुरुदेव के पास आज शांति कुंज में भी डॉक्टर प्रणव पंड्या जी और शैल दीदी जी के साथ ये गोवर्धन पूजा वहाँ की गई वो यहाँ भी हमें दर्शन मिला। आज खूब लाभ हमें मिला है। जय गुरुदेव जय गायत्री माता जय वंदनीय माता जी जय गायत्री चेतना सेंटर की
जय गुरुदेव। मैं सुबोध भाई नायक और मेरा भाई भारतीबेन नायक गायत्री चेतना सेंटर के दिव्य प्रांगण में से आज ये संदेश देने जा रहे हैं। आज हमारा बहुत ही एक अभूतपूर्व उत्सव था प्रसंग था इवेंट था। आज हमने जो हमारा हिंदू धर्म का नया साल शुरू होने जा रहा है आज से तो इसके आज हमने गौ पूजन के साथ साथ गोवर्धन पूजन और भगवान गोपाल माने कृष्ण भगवान का भी पूजन किया। कृष्ण का जीवन चरित्र ऐसा है कि हर एक लाखों करोड़ों लोगों के दिल में वो बस गया। और मैंने पहला गो पूजन क्यों करना है? गो जैसा गो प्राणी है ही नहीं। पहली बात तो गो जीवन में पशु मानना ही नहीं। गो इतनी उपकारी, इतने देने वाली है। हमारे हिंदू संस्कृति में जो मेन 4 आधार बनाए हैं, इसमें गो मुख्य है, गो मूल है। तो गो का बड़े भाव से पूजन किया। श्रद्धा दे, माँ के दूध से भी बढ़िया गौ का दूध होता है। तो गौ का हर एक को पूजन करना चाहिए, इसका संवर्धन करना चाहिए, इसको बढ़ाना चाहिए। गोदान का इसीलिए संकल्प किया जाता है, मैरिज में भी संकल्प करवाते हम, और अंतिम संस्कार जो 7 तर्पण संस्कार में भी गोदान का संकल्प कराते। गौ बहुत ही उपयोगी प्राणी है और इसका संवर्धन करना ही चाहिए। गौ को हमको आगे गौ उत्पादन को बढ़ाना है। चमड़े की आइटम हमें कभी नहीं पहनना है और गौ उत्पादन को बढ़ाना है। गाय का घी का हम उपयोग करना है यज्ञ में और दीपक में। ये गौ का पूजन रहा। गोवर्धन क्या है? गोवर्धन इंद्र का अपमान है। इंद्र ने मान लिया कि मैं सबसे बड़ा हूँ, भगवान तो कुछ नहीं है। तो इंद्र का अपमान को डालने के लिए गोवर्धन एक प्रतीक पूजा है। गोवर्धन में सब कुछ मिलता है। हमारे पर्वत ऐसे बने हैं दुनिया ने, जैसे हिमालय हो, गोवर्धन हो, विंध्याचल हो, इसमें सब आयुर्वेद के लेके सभी प्रकार की औषधि से लेके सभी प्रकार के भौतिक वस्तु भी वहाँ उपलब्ध हैं। तो गौ पर्वत हमारे लिए कोई सामान्य जड़ वस्तु नहीं है। तो इस भान करना है गोवर्धन का, इसीलिए पूजन। गौ माने गोबर का ज्ञान और भक्ति को बढ़ाने की जो क्रिया है, जो वस्तु है, वही गोवर्धन लीला है। भगवान ने ज्ञान जो भक्ति बढ़ाने के लिए गोवर्धन लीला की। साथ में कृष्ण का पूजन किया। कृष्ण कौन है? कृष्ण करोड़ों हृदय में जिसको स्थान मिला है, कृष्ण सामान्य नहीं है। कृष्णम वंदे जगत गुरुम गौ ब्राह्मण हिताय च। कृष्ण भगवान ने कहा मैं बार मैं जन्म लूँगा, जब भी धर्म का नाश होगा, अधर्म का फैलाव होगा तो मैं जन्म लूँगा। ऐसे भगवान कृष्ण का जीवन चरित्र। और आज बाल रूप का पूजन किया। बाल रूप बहुत ही बढ़िया है। कई हजारों कवियों ने इसका वर्णन किया है। कवि का इसमें वो थाकते नहीं है, वो कभी भी वो इसमें। तो ऐसी बात है, भगवान कृष्ण की हमने पूजन किया बड़े भाव से, श्रद्धा बड़े हृदय से। और यहाँ व्यवस्थापकों को मैं पहले धन्यवाद करूँगा। बहुत ही सुंदर कोविड-19 में बहुत व्यवस्था की। और मैं सुधीर परीख को भी भाव से वंदना करूँगा। और मैं पीछे माता खड़ी है मेरी माँ, मैं भाव से माँ को बहुत ही मैं श्रद्धा भाव से माँ का आशीर्वाद मिले, भगवान कृष्ण को आशीर्वाद मिले। हमारा भाटी साहब भी, इसका परिवार हमेशा सुखी संपन्न बना रहे, यही भाव से खूब शुभकामना, खूब मंगल कामना सभी को। जय गुरुदेव, हैप्पी न्यू ईयर, जय गुरुदेव।
With that, we come to today's concluding moments of Vision of Asia Voice of the Community. But let me remind you, we have a very vibrant Facebook page of ITV Gold. Be friends with us there. Subscribe to ITV Gold's YouTube channel and also keep writing to us with events and suggestions, events@itvgold.com. Thank you very much for being a part of today's show. Stay happy, stay well, take care. This is Ashok Vyas.